Lights, camera, action, people. Deluded. I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. As we approach the end of the Premier League season or seasons where other leagues are concerned, and we begin to focus on not only the Euros but transfer news, the transfer rumours mills are spinning, and we've got Bruno Guimarães to discuss. Apparently, Arsenal have identified 3 goalkeeping targets to replace Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron Ramsdale is still speculated to be leaving. You know, I'm a big fan of Olise. I don't think Arsenal could sign him because I actually think he's going to end up at Manchester United. But we've got a lot to concern ourselves with. Now, Bruno Guimarães, who in my opinion is destined for Manchester City, allegedly PSG have dropped their interest according to Ben Jacobs, which obviously adds fuel to the fire of Arsenal potentially signing the once upon a time Lyon man, now currently one of the best central midfielders in the Premier League and playing for Newcastle. Now, we know Newcastle have some FFP or PSR issues surrounding their club, so they're going to sell Bruno Guimarães to the highest bidder. Whether they'll want to sell Guimarães to a direct rival in Arsenal, whether Arsenal will want to pay 100 million or whether it's 80 to 100 million, whether the way the deal is, you know, the finer intricacies of the deal are tied up would be favourable terms for Newcastle, who knows. But for what it's worth, would love us to sign Bruno Guimarães, people. And PSG have been linked with him, you know, with a return back to France. For me, they need to get him, Osimhen, Rafa Leao, and include Xavi Simons and begin the post-Mbappe era. But apparently, according to journalist Ben Jacobs, PSG are now no longer in the conversation for Guimarães, and there's no plan to negotiate or trigger the release clause. This information is more good news for the Magpies, and nobody knows, like, unless you work for Arsenal, Newcastle, Paris Saint-Germain, nobody knows what they intend to do or not to do. How many times have we heard a team is not interested in a player only to see the opposite come true? But for what it's worth, people, that is what is alleged to have been said. Apparently, they're not involved where it's concerned, where Guimarães is concerned, people. And if we go on Ben Jacobs' Twitter account and actually try and find what he actually said in relation to that, people, which I thought that article would have covered there. It is what it is, people. But apparently, once Mbappe's exit terms are finalized and formalized, PSG will be in for a busy summer. Now, with PSG going out of the Champions League, you'd imagine Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid will be signed, dotted and sealed and made official in the coming weeks going into the Euros. Rather than spending all their freed up budget on a like-for-like replacement, PSG are expected to continue their youth-led project, adding a striker, winger, central midfielder and a centre-back. Napoli's Victor Osimhen still a name to watch, where, again, check out the video I did yesterday. Apparently, Arsenal back in the conversation there. He's then said, I understand PSG are no longer in the conversation for Bruno Guimarães. No plans to trigger his release clause or negotiate with Newcastle. Bernardo Silva remains a target. Bernardo Silva, who is not a summer transfer window if he's not linked with a move away from Manchester City. Once upon a time was linked with Madrid, currently PSG, and it looked like he would be set for Barcelona. You see where Barcelona are concerned. They've been linked with Núñez, Isaac, Bernardo Silva, and a bunch of players, Zubamendi, and a bunch of players, as I just said. Whether they've got the finances to do all of that is another thing. But that's obviously good news to Arsenal. We have also heard Arsenal could accept offers for 3 fan favourites to fund the move for Guimarães, which is Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, and I probably will say Eddie Nketiah. I wouldn't say Eddie Nketiah is a fan favorite with the greatest of respect, but it is what it is. And you know, you'd imagine Arsenal are going to kind of follow what we've done in the last 2 summers and spend close to 200 million. And you'd imagine we've got the finances to do that. You know, KSC, Stan Kroenke, family have never been afraid to flex their muscles and back Mikel Arteta. Obviously, with us being in the Champions League in a healthier state now, then there's going to be finances. But again, you know, we have to probably get better at selling. And the futures of Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, Emil Smith-Rowe, Aaron Ramsdale, Tierney, Lokonga, bunch of players that we probably even forget are at the club. And then you've got Gabriel Jesus, Thomas Partey, and a bit different, but Jorginho. There's a lot of cloud over a lot of these players, people. For what it's worth, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on Guimarães, people. Would love the man at the carpet. Arsenal eye trio of goalkeepers a shock. Wojciech, Szczesny, Swoop could fulfill key rule requirement. Now, the one thing with signing Szczesny is He knows the club. He might be accepting of being a number 2. Yes, he's a Polish international, but he more or less grew up in London. So there's some homegrown quotas we can fill. Obviously, if we let Ramsdale, Eddie Nketiah, Smith Rowe, Nelson, and I don't know if I said it, but Aaron Ramsdale leave, again, we need to be able to fulfill the quota. I don't buy the Szczesny rumours because we have covered this before. And, you know, apparently he looks set to stay at Juventus. He's been linked with Chelsea. Both Chelsea and Arsenal of different denominations need a goalkeeper. And as you know, David Raya is our goalie. He'll become a permanent signing in the summer. So on paper, we're going to technically sign 2 goalies. So you have to kind of be accepting to be number 2. And I say that lightly because obviously you want to push Raya all the way. And, you know, if somebody can take Raya's spot, great. You know, we've got more of a competitive team. Arsenal are eyeing up a shock move to bring Wojciech Szczesny back to the Emirates Stadium as they brace themselves for the departure of Aaron Ramsdale. The Gunners have started looking at replacements for Ramsdale, who has lost his place in the team to Raya and is expected to leave in the summer. Arsenal would ideally like to bring in a homegrown goalkeeper to help them comply with Premier League rules, and Szczesny has been suggested as a possible option. And him being 34 years of age, it gives us time to find more of a long-term kind of number 2 or someone that can push David Raya that's more aligned to the modern-day kind of goalkeeping stuff that Mikel Arteta wants. I don't think we'll get Szczesny, but it is what it is. And, you know, where it said there with homegrown, that's where we've been linked with a couple of decent championship youngest goalkeepers. That's probably where, you know, we've actually been linked last week with James Trafford at Burnley. Whether these guys are accepting to be number 2 is another thing, people. Allegedly, people, Juventus wanted to sell the goalkeeper this summer as they work on a deal to bring in a goalie of their own. People, Szczesny is on 100 grand a week wages after tax. So again, that's probably where it comes from. Interestingly, though, Brighton's Jason Still is another homegrown goalkeeper that Arsenal may target, but he still has 2 years left on his deal. The 33-year-old who played with Raya at Blackburn early in his career has rotated with Bart Van Bregen at Brighton this season. Now, we don't do the rotating keepers things, you know, as much as Mikel Arteta was saying we'll sub keepers at halftime. Anyone that has a Scooby-Doo about football can't doubt Mikel Arteta with the game changing, but we all knew that was a myth. You know, you look at our team, there's been a lot of stability. As much as there's been injuries and players coming in, the core pillars, whether that was last season with Aaron Ramsdale, currently David Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, Benjamin White, you know, obviously left back's a bit of a different one, but, you know, Odegaard, Saka, again, stability. So it was never going to happen really and truly. We've been linked with a number of goalkeepers. Arsenal are also among several top European clubs who have scouted Ajax goalkeeper Ramaj. I can't pronounce that. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but we have a good relationship with Ajax, having bought Timber. Hopefully we can get Jarell Hatto, people, who fits the profile of a goalkeeper Arsenal want, as he's excellent with a ball at his feet. But at 22, he is reluctant to give up being a guaranteed starter, and I don't think we can blame him. Arsenal want to sign a homegrown goalkeeper amid uncertainty over the futures of a host of homegrown goalkeepers. Players in their squad. Newcastle allegedly are the front runners to sign Ramsdale, is expected to leave in search of first team football. So is there a knock-on effect for Nick Pope? Because surely if Ramsdale goes to Newcastle, I'm not saying he's better or worse than Nick Pope, but you've got 2 goalies there. You don't know if you're going to play. You've been linked with Chelsea. On paper, David Raya, apologies. Kepa is going to return to Chelsea. They've got Sanchez and they've got Ramsdale. And Ramsdale's been linked with Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea. You do see his name linked with clubs abroad. I say that subjectively because you never really find out the clubs that are interested. Eddie Nketiah, Emil Smith-Rowe, James Hilson and Reece Nelson could also depart this summer. Hilson being our third choice goalkeeper, or even behind that because it's Carl Hein, really. Arsenal expected to continue to back Mikel Arteta in the transfer market, and their priorities are a defender, a midfielder and a forward. So maybe if we can get a winger, that's great. Maybe if you could get 2 central midfielders, that's great. And obviously we're going to need a goalie to deputize for David Raya, but, you know, the priorities would be a striker takes this to another level. Addressing the left centre mid-8 role takes us to another level. And there's been times, obviously, with Timber, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, all having injury issues of their own, with us not that they've deserved, not that you want to rest players necessarily that are in form, but in another world, there's been times with Saliba and Benjamin White, potentially Gabriel, you thought, you know what, they could do with a rest. Benjamin Sesko's continuously linked with us, and his picture has been chosen there, people. The Gunners ideally want a left-footed defender and remain interested in Ajax's 18-year-old Jiro Hato. Despite him signing a new deal with Ajax in March, Ajax hope Hato, who has already captained the Dutch Giants, will be persuaded to stay for at least one more season, but they're resigned to him leaving eventually. A new forward is a key target for Arsenal, and they're likely to focus on bringing in someone who can play out wide. Kai Havertz has excelled as a number 9 this year, and his good form has forced Arsenal to reconsider their plans. The club have for a long time wanted to bring in competition for Saka, and a player who can operate on either flank is desired. Arsenal are long-term admirers of Wolves winger Pedro Neto, and they have scouted Nico Williams from Atletico Bilbao. Benjamin Sesko and Santiago Jimenez have also been watched and could be options as they can play out wide, which is true. Sesko can. We already know, but Aaron Ramsdale was set to leave the Arsenal, the club, this summer after losing his place in the starting 11, and has an agreement with the club that he can go. Fair enough, Ramsdale. Farewell. Apparently, Aston Villa are confident of beating Arsenal and Man United to Crystal Palace ace Olise. And you can't discount Aston Villa. They've got a good squad. They've got a great manager. They're in the Champions League now, which they couldn't have picked a better team to it in Spurs. Wow, I would have loved to have beat Aston Villa, and they did the double over us. It was for the greater good, I guess. But Aston Villa are confident. And to be fair, Olise has been linked with PSG, Arsenal, Chelsea, etc. And again, you have to take with the rough with the smooth. There's going to be a lot of competition, but you'd imagine there's more regular game time at Aston Villa. For me, Olise is amazing. To have him and Saka as potential wide options with his technical level, with his dribbling ability, with the way he draws fouls, with his free kick ability, he's just got the stardust about him essentially. And I know he plays for France at youth level, but he is a homegrown lad who has actually spent time at Arsenal, Chelsea, and a couple of clubs in his youth days. Apparently, Olise aims to join the Champions League club next season and secure a spot as a regular starter, prioritizing his playing time over sitting on the bench. Apparently, City are interested in him as well. Manchester United, apparently he was a United fan, and United for the last few months have probably been the club that are most aggressively linked with him. So I wouldn't discount him going over there, people. But Aston Villa remain confident of persuading Olise to choose Aston Villa over Arsenal and Man United. I think he's got star potential. Would you have him? I don't know. Man United are expected to hold concrete talks over a deal for the 22-year-old Olise, who signed a new deal last year and gave a great addition to Man United. Sat several players on their backside when Crystal Palace smoked Manchester United. And you saw what happened to Casemiro. He's probably, he's had a great career, but probably has to consider if he can still cut the mustard at this level. Go and get paid in Saudi, my dude. Apparently, Tomiyasu has offered his thoughts on stuff, people. Let's see what he said. He missed training, obviously cue the rumours, but apparently he was given a day off. He has said the two centre-backs, Gabby and Saliba, they are so consistent, and so is White as well. We've had a lot of clean sheets because of them. I want to be part of that defence. We will try to get another clean sheet at Old Trafford as well. Obviously, it won't be an easy game because it's a tough place to play and take 3 points, but we are confident we will be there to get 3 points. If we win the title, we will be happy. I don't want anything else. We just want the title. For me, there's not been many chances to be involved in this title race, so I'm happy I'm involved now. If there's a chance in front of us, we have to go for it and take it. Fair enough. He then said, people, in relation to the Asia Cup and his injuries, he said, it was tough for me being injured because after we lost the Asia Cup, I wanted to play. I wanted to play immediately after that because other players from the national team who lost in the Asia Cup were playing. But it is what it is. I'm available to play now. This is the most important period of the season. I'm happy on the pitch and I hope I can help the team. I'll give everything for the team and try to enjoy this moment. Big him up. People, once again, Arsenal are said to be one of the Premier League clubs keeping tabs on Brazil's latest teenage star. I mean, it's not Endrick. It definitely isn't Marquinhos. It's Estavio Willian, who looks set to be joining Chelsea. What a coup that is for Chelsea, people. So it seems like Chelsea have agreed terms. Arsenal probably have an interest, but that one bites the dust. Chelsea and Aston Villa have been put off a deal for athletic winger Nico Williams because of his wage demands. I wonder what that could potentially mean for our football club Arsenal. Nonetheless, I have a video coming out tomorrow, so I'm doing this on Thursday. It comes out on Friday in relation to Williams, so make sure your notification bells are on and you're having a browse of that. We've gone over the Tomiyasu comments. Odegaard has been nominated along with Declan Rice for Player of the Season. Big them up. They definitely deserve that. Also, Saliba and Saka have been nominated for Young Player of the Year. It's a shame that Foden is going to win that personally. And I might even do a separate video on this, people, because there must be some sort of bias. No, take nothing away from Odegaard, Rice, Saliba, or Gabriel, or Saka, sorry. How is Gabriel not nominated for Player of the Season? Because I saw Van Dijk there, respectfully to Van Dijk, because he had shown some great patches. Gabriel is probably the most underappreciated defender in the Premier League, and definitely one of those at Arsenal. When he was having moments of madness, people were getting at him. You know, he's been one of our most consistent and best players this season, and Player of the Season, really, considering in August he was on the bench. I don't understand how Gabriel isn't there, but it is what it is. This is a popularity contest. Take nothing away from the Arsenal players that have been nominated and those of other teams as well, but it does not make sense to me. Maybe you can't have too many Arsenal players. David Seaman has told Saka to pack in his limping antics. You know, big up David Seaman, one of my heroes growing up. But did you not see Saka's, you know, the white meat showing on his leg after he got clamped? And so this is a man who you remember against Crystal Palace, MacArthur a few years ago, absolutely kicked off his quad. So David Seaman, I disagree with that with Bukayo Saka, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. Mikel Arteta has been speaking about the key moments this season. Big up Arteta. That was just something for me to personally read for myself. Barcelona, Arsenal, Man United, and Bayern Leverkusen are all interested in Martin Zubimendi. Leverkusen, who have Xabi Alonso, people. So we'll have to watch that. You know, for me, I think he, based on reports, it seems like he's enticed by playing again under Xabi Alonso, who, respectfully to Leverkusen, will be set to be joining the bigger club. Barcelona seem to be tapping this guy up. Seemed like he was undecided between departing Sociedad, but reports still say Arsenal like the player. Mikel Arteta has an admiration for the individual, and he fancies a move to the Premier League, people. Apparently, he's attracted to the idea of playing in the Premier League, and it'll be interested to see if Arsenal can use that to their advantage. The development will certainly come as a major boost for the Gunners, and it remains to be seen whether they can get the deal done. And as you know, he's got a release clause of 60 million euros. Arsenal have been ranked as the 8th most valuable football club in the world, people, valued at 3.91 billion, people, which is great for us. Barcelona apparently are interested in Darwin Núñez, and obviously Isaac. Now, that has no relevance to us, but I know a lot of you would like us to sign Alexander Isak. Paqueta and Mohamed Kudus, 2 players that would be good for our squad. Apparently, they could be sold by West Ham. I think Kudus would be a better fit for the squad because he's versatile. I think for the starting 11, Paqueta in that left 8 were cooking, really. But apparently, West Ham will be susceptible to offers for both star men, Lucas Paqueta and Kudus, people. Now, with Paqueta, you know, Man City, apologies, did have a deal agreed for him last summer to join them, but obviously he had the gambling cloud over him, so that was a myth. So if you got 80 million agreed for him last year, you might want something that year. I guess where West Ham are concerned for Kudus, they could make a quick profit. It's alleged that there's release clauses in both of these individuals' contracts. How long that release clause is, I don't know, really and truly. Kudus only joined West Ham last season, as you know. Paqueta is technically contracted until 2027. Now, with them looking like they're not going to finish, you know, have a season like they had last year, maybe not get into the European places. David Moyes is departing, and there's probably a new manager coming in. It's somewhat a transitional period. Maybe some players are not on that, or some players reckon it's now time for them to take naturally the next big step. So let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed, people. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciative to you lot being here. Check out the rest of the content. Again, we're closing in on 60,000 subscribers. We need every comment, every like, every bit of engagement to boost the YouTube algorithm. So appreciative to you lot watching, and those of you that do hit the like button and all of that and do it in advance. It's always a pleasure. Any emerging news, views, and talking points, you know, I'll get videos out and live streams and them things out for you lot. Smash the like button and all of that good stuff. As I said, most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Hope you're having a great week and you and your loved ones are in great health. We link up again, but for now, peace.